a key ICE facility in Texas, what started as just another morning turned into a high-stakes fight for survival. The Los Vitres cartel, desperate and cornered after losing ground to rival factions, launched their boldest assault yet. Their target? A U.S. immigration processing center they assumed would be easy to overrun. But they were dead wrong. This facility isn't run by just any official. Commander Peter Morgan is a 25-year Delta Force veteran who gave up war zones overseas to protect the vulnerable here at home. He traded his rifle for a badge, believing real impact came from defending legal immigrants, not just battling abroad. Now, surrounded by cartel gunmen armed to the teeth, Morgan must lead his team to defend both his officers and the innocent families seeking asylum inside. But he's not alone. At his side, Deputy Commander Teresa Lopez, tech expert Nathan Lee, and local Sheriff Monica Stewart, a tight-knit team built on trust, discipline, and grit. This is more than a shootout. It's a defining moment. This is the day a quiet border post became the front line in a hidden war. And it's where a warrior showed the world that even under government colors, he's still ready to fight for what's right. Before we dive deeper, tell us where you're watching from. And if this story hits you, don't forget to subscribe. Because tomorrow, we've got something even more intense. Early morning sunlight stretches across the El Paso border facility as Commander Morgan walks the perimeter. His boots crunch against gravel, a sound that pulls him back to the war zones he once patrolled. But this isn't Iraq or Afghanistan. This is his home turf. Ahead, he spots a family walking toward the center, father and daughter. The man walks protectively, shielding the child with his body. Morgan reads him instantly. That's a father, ready to face anything for his kid. "Good morning, sir," the man says cautiously. "We are here for our appointment." Morgan offers a warm smile. "Welcome to the United States." Deputy Teresa Lopez steps in with quiet efficiency. "Diaz family? Right this way." As they head inside, she glances back. "Commander, you should know. Our sources flagged some unusual movement last night." Morgan doesn't flinch, but his eyes scan the horizon. "Talk to me." 3 vehicles, tinted windows, crossed in through areas not used by the usual smugglers. "They're testing new routes," Morgan replies, voice calm but alert, "or creating a distraction." Inside, cool air hums through the main building. Officers work methodically. Paperwork, interviews, background checks, everything runs like clockwork. Tech specialist Nathan Lee waves Morgan over. On multiple screens, heat signatures from the border flicker. Nathan points to Sector 7. "Normal traffic, except here," he says. "This pattern isn't random, too organized." Morgan leans in. "How long?" "Started about an hour ago." The radio at Morgan's side sparks to life. "Commander, this is Officer Harris, Southgate. We've got a situation with a delivery truck." "On my way," Morgan says sharply. To Nathan, "Keep watching. Any shift, let me know." At the gate, Officer Harris stands beside a white delivery truck. The driver, young, jittery, wears a janitorial company uniform. "Says he's delivering cleaning supplies," Harris explains. "But the manifest doesn't match." Morgan steps forward. "Morning. Mind if we look in the back?" The driver twitches. Sure, just running behind on my schedule." "Won't take long," Morgan replies, keeping his tone easy but eyes sharp. Inside the truck, the cargo is stacked too precisely, too perfect. He's seen this before. Pulling out his phone, Morgan calls the sheriff. "Sheriff Stewart, need your K9 unit for a quick check." Minutes later, Sheriff Monica Stewart arrives, dogs in tow. The driver's color drains. "Routine inspection," Morgan says calmly. "Happens all the time." The dogs sweep the truck until one alerts near the front. "False wall," Morgan mutters. Classic cartel tactic. They open it. The hidden compartment's empty, but clearly just used. The driver is detained. Back in the office, Morgan and Teresa review the morning's chaos. A large map on the wall marks recent cartel activity. "They're probing our defenses," she says. Morgan nods slowly. "Then let's show them what happens when they push the wrong post." As Teresa studies the footage, her tone is steady. "They're testing our response time. Morgan nods slowly. That truck, it was a probe. They're measuring our inspection protocols. Teresa frowns. Cartels don't usually bother with legal entry points. They prefer... She's cut off as Nathan bursts through the door, out of breath. Commander, 3 surveillance cameras just went dark, all at once. Morgan is on his feet in a second. Location? Western perimeter. They form a triangle around a blind spot. Morgan doesn't hesitate. This isn't a glitch. They're creating a gap. Teresa, get Sheriff Stewart back on the line. Nathan, run a full diagnostic and patch into any satellite feeds over that sector. In the command center, Morgan leans over the feed map. Years of tactical training make the enemy's plan crystal clear. It's a maneuver he's seen in war zones, but this time it's happening at home. Sheriff's 10 minutes out, Teresa updates. I've alerted the FBI. Morgan watches the screens flicker with static. Below, in the processing center, families fill out paperwork, totally unaware that danger is creeping closer. Dr. Grace Loy enters quietly. Commander, we have 3 families scheduled for health screenings this afternoon. Should we delay? Morgan shakes his head. No, changing routines will tip them off. Keep it moving, but prepare to switch to emergency protocol at my signal. Just then, a young officer rushes in. Commander, movement in the western sector. Multiple vehicles, different angles. Morgan's instincts kick in like muscle memory. Teresa, start quietly relocating non-essential personnel. Nathan, I need visuals on those vehicles, and someone find Victor Morales. I need every backup tunnel and maintenance route mapped. Now. Outside, the sun climbs, and the heat makes the approaching truck shimmer on the horizon. Morgan watches from the window, jaw tight. This isn't just another day. This is a coordinated, deliberate assault. His radio crackles again, Nathan's voice tense. Those vehicles, they're just the visible ones. Thermal shows more coming in from the south, using terrain for cover. Morgan looks down to the families below. A mother clutches her 2 children as she waits patiently in line. He locks in. Teresa, activate security protocol Delta 7, quietly. No panic. Copy that, she replies. And Commander, we've confirmed it's Los Vitres. Mendoza's leading the assault. Morgan stiffens. Mendoza, ex-military, now a top-tier cartel lieutenant. Ruthless, calculated, trained, but not Delta Force. He thinks his military background gives him the edge, Morgan says coldly. He's about to find out the difference between basic training and real war, and why you never bring battle to a place where families seek peace. Below, the center operates as usual, but subtle shifts take place. Officers move with silent purpose. Cameras adjust angles. Extra eyes are on every entry point. Commander Peter Morgan didn't just hang up his combat gear. He redefined his mission. And today, he's about to teach a cartel exactly what happens when you underestimate a soldier with a badge. By midday, the heat ripples through the parking lot. Inside the backup command center, Morgan assembles his core team. The walls are filled with surveillance feeds and tactical maps. Victor Morales lays out the facility blueprints, his maintenance keys jingling. These tunnels were built for equipment access, Victor explains. But if we need to move people, they'll work. Teresa traces a line with her finger. Northwest route leads straight to the sheriff's backup station. That's our best evac. Nathan pulls up another file. And here's why they chose today. We're understaffed, half our team's on a training rotation in El Paso. Morgan studies the data. 24 families in processing, 15 staff, and only 60% of his usual security force. Perfect storm for them. Except for one problem, they have no idea who they're up against. Dr. Loy re-enters with more updates. We have 3 pregnant women and 1 elderly man with a heart condition. They'll need to be prioritized if we evacuate. Understood, Morgan says. Teresa, coordinate with Dr. Loy. Get them moved to the secure medical bay. Just then, the radio crackles again. Sheriff Stewart's voice. Morgan, my units are in place, but we've got a situation. Media caught wind. Christine Vega from Channel 5 is asking questions. Morgan turns to Teresa. Keep her in the dark. Last thing we need is the cartel knowing we're onto them. Too late, Nathan interrupts, eyes on the screen. They just shifted their vehicles to block our backup surveillance zones. They know. Victor leans in, pointing at the blueprints. Commander, there's more. These tunnels, they link to older access routes, ones not on the current plans. Morgan's eyes narrow. Show me. Below, Officer Harris keeps the processing center calm. But behind the scenes, security teams reinforce doorways, lock down emergency protocols, and prepare for whatever's coming. The crew family, Alberto and little Lucha, wait quietly at the desk, unaware that heroes are already moving in the shadows to protect them. At a corner desk in the processing center, Alberto Cruz quietly finishes paperwork with his daughter Lucha sitting beside him. A former schoolteacher, he feels it before he sees it. That tension. The stillness before a storm. He leans toward Officer Harris. Something's wrong, he whispers. I've seen this before, in my town, right before the cartel came. Harris keeps his voice calm. Everything's fine, sir. Please continue with your processing. But through his earpiece, Morgan's voice is clear. All units, implement Protocol Echo 3. Stay quiet, stay calm. Upstairs, Teresa coordinates with Dr. Loy, quietly moving priority evacuees. No sirens, no panic. Just quiet urgency. A young mother holding her 2 kids follows a medical officer, her arms gently guiding them forward while trying to keep them silent. Outside, the desert wind picks up, sweeping dust across the facility. In the command center, Morgan watches the cartel vehicles holding position, just out of clear range. They're waiting, Teresa mutters. No, Morgan corrects. He's waiting. Mendoza won't lead the first wave. He's too smart for that. He'll wait until we look vulnerable. Nathan's voice cuts in, focused. Commander, I've got vehicle movement on the east perimeter. Local cars. Could be reinforcements or a distraction. Morgan turns sharply. Get me Agent Laura Chen. I want FBI assets in place before this escalates. Down in the tunnels, Morgan follows Victor through narrow maintenance corridors. Their flashlights cut through darkness, illuminating recent footprints in the dust. Someone's been here, Victor says grimly. Morgan crouches down. Multiple people, within the last 24 hours. Back in the command center, Teresa updates the sheriff's team positions. 12 cartel vehicles now, spread across 3 sectors, classic encirclement. They don't know we've got options underground, Morgan replies, already 1 step ahead. Dr. Loy enters again. Priority evacuees are secure, but we've got new arrivals coming in this afternoon. Divert them, Morgan orders. Use the weather advisory protocol. Then Agent Chen's voice comes through. Commander Morgan, FBI tactical teams are 20 minutes out. And yes, it's Mendoza. Our source says he's planning something big. Morgan studies the tactical display. The cartel vehicles are no longer moving. They've formed a loose perimeter around the entire facility. They're not trying to sneak through. They're not here to smuggle, Morgan realizes. They want to make a statement. Mendoza wants the world to see him take a government post. Teresa's phone buzzes. A coded message. She reads it, then looks up, face tight. Commander, our source just confirmed. Mendoza brought heavy weapons, military grade. Morgan sighs, not surprised. Of course he did. He's still fighting yesterday's war. But he's about to learn taking a post isn't the same as holding it. In the center below, Alberto watches security teams move subtly, quietly. His instincts scream louder. His daughter clutches her backpack. Papi, are the bad men coming? He wraps an arm around her. No, Mija, we're safe here. These people, they know what they're doing. Officer Harris watches the family closely. They're the reason for all of this. Families chasing peace, chasing legal refuge. And this team will protect them at all costs. Morgan steps back into the command center, tunnel dust still on his boots. Nathan, show me tunnel thermals. Heat signatures appear on the screen, moving, closing in. Underground approach confirmed. They found the tunnels, Victor says. No, Morgan replies with a grim smile. We let them. Teresa, is Stewart's K-9 unit in position? Yes, sir. And Agent Chen says FBI Tactical is moving into secondary positions. Morgan takes in the full picture. Cartel vehicles in plain sight. A hidden approach underground. Media crews gathering outside. and 24 families inside who don't even know. What's coming? They think they got us surrounded, Morgan says quietly. Time to show them how wrong they are. Outside, wind rips across the desert. Dust dances like smoke. In the distance, thunder rumbles. A storm is coming. Nature's warning of the real one about to begin. The radio flares again. Commander, Nathan says urgently. They're moving, tunnels. They've started their approach. Morgan's eyes drift to the families below, then back to his team. Years of war, of strategy, of hard choices. All of it led to this moment, not to kill, but to protect. All units, he says, calm and focused. Prepare to execute Operation Sandstorm. Let's show Mendoza what happens when you bring cartel tactics to a Delta operator's house. If you're hooked by this story, don't forget to subscribe. It helps us bring you more intense, real-feel narratives just like this. Now, back to the storm. Morgan leans in closer to the surveillance screen, eyes narrowing. He's showing his background, he mutters to Teresa. On the monitor, a cartel vehicle approaches the outer gate. The driver holds up paperwork. Official, precise, too precise. Harris's voice crackles over the radio. Sir, documents look authentic. They match our current security protocols. Teresa's eyes widen. They've got someone on the inside. Morgan nods grimly. Which means we trust no one outside this room. He turns to Nathan. Initiate Protocol Delta 6. Encrypt all channels. Doctor. Loy rushes in with urgent news. Commander, the Cruz family. Alberto says he recognized one of the cartel members from his hometown. The man murdered 3 teachers who wouldn't let the cartel recruit kids. Morgan spins toward Teresa. Bring him up, quietly. In the lower levels, Victor Morales checks tunnel access points. With a twist of his key, hidden panels slide into place. Extra reinforcements never logged on official blueprints. Insurance, Victor explains to a nearby guard. After the San Lorenzo incident, never thought we'd use them above ground. Outside, Sheriff Stewart's units report cartel shifts around the perimeter. Every update reinforces what Morgan already suspects. They're too visible, he mutters. Mendoza wants us focused on the obvious. Moments later, Alberto Cruz enters the command center. Despite his nerves, his posture is steady. Teacher instinct never leaves. Commander, he says, the man in the second vehicle, that's Miguel Su. In my town, he executed 3 of my colleagues for standing up to him. Morgan and Teresa exchange a glance. The name matches their DEA file. But Alberto's story tells a much darker truth. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Officer Harris will take you back to your daughter. We'll keep you both safe. Once he's gone, Morgan addresses the team. Either the DEA has been compromised or Sue's been playing both sides. Either way, we toss the old intel. Suddenly, Nathan's screens flare. New movement. Thermal shows they're splitting up. 2 teams through the tunnels, 1 through the storm drains. Morgan leans over the layout. Classic pincer. But they don't know Victor's rewired half those tunnels. Teresa's phone buzzes. Commander, Vega's threatening to go live. She knows something's up. Morgan doesn't hesitate. Sheriff Stewart needs to delay her, legally if she has to. If Mendoza hears we're ready, he'll change the plan. On the big screen, 15 cartel vehicles now sit like chess pieces, carefully placed around the facility. But Morgan isn't looking at the surface. His eyes lock on the thermal readings, the underground heat signatures. They think they're sneaking in, he says. Nathan, activate the tunnel sensors. Across the blueprint, vibration detectors light up in red. Dozens of armed men weaving through the underground network, following paths that look wide open. Then a call from Harris. Commander, the Cruz girl, Lucia, she drew something. Says it's important. Her crayon sketch appears on a secure tablet. Vehicles, men, shapes she saw through a small window. Childlike but disturbingly accurate. Morgan studies it carefully. There, rear vehicles riding higher than the rest. They're carrying heavy weapons. Outside, thunder cracks. A desert storm gathers on the edge of the horizon, like nature itself warning of what's coming. Inside, Doctor. Loy moves through the processing center, calm and composed, offering reassurance through her presence. But the tension in the air is growing. The families feel it. Then, Agent Chen's voice comes through encrypted comms. Commander, Our teams are in position. We've confirmed heavy weapons in at least 3 vehicles, military grade. Morgan nods slowly. He won't fire right away. Mendoza wants the facility intact. He wants headlines. Victor returns with updated tunnel reports. They pass the first checkpoints, just like we mapped. Morgan turns to Teresa. Time to test their commitment. Phase 1. Operation Sandstorm. Throughout the facility, hidden systems awaken. Ventilation fans reverse, sucking dust and sand into targeted tunnel sections. Security doors slide silently into place, cutting off escape routes. On Nathan's screens, cartel squads flinch and stumble as dust floods the corridors. The air thickens. Vision blurs. They're trained, Teresa says. You can see it in how they adjust. They are, Morgan agrees. But they're fighting blind, and they're falling back on textbook tactics. He watches them. Tactics I know better than they do. A bolt of lightning flashes, illuminating the compound through the command center window. The Desert Storm arrives. Perfect timing. Commander, Nathan calls out. First team's almost at Junction 7. 30 seconds from breach. Morgan steps forward, hands behind his back, eyes locked on the screen. Years of Delta Force experience, now aimed at protecting civilians, not eliminating targets. This is the new battlefield, and Morgan owns it. Morgan stands over the live tactical feed, voice low, resolute. Mendoza thinks he's running a military op, he says. But this isn't a battlefield. This is a home, for every family chasing legal refuge, for every officer sworn to protect them. For every American dream, that starts right here. Teresa checks her display. All teams in position, Commander. Morgan nods, calm but firm. Execute Operation Sandstorm, Phase 2. Let's remind them why a border post is never an easy target. As thunder rolls across the desert sky, the facility comes alive, not with gunfire, but with precision, with intention, with something the cartel never saw coming. Phase 2 launches with dust-filled air surging through the tunnel network. The ventilation system, reversed on command, floods the passages with grit and static. A natural smokescreen, engineered by experience, not guesswork. In the darkness below, cartel fighters stumble, visibility cut to 0. They're pulling back, Nathan reports. First team regrouping at Junction 4. Morgan watches closely. That's not retreat. That's tactical repositioning. Mendoza trained them too well. On camera, cartel ground vehicles break formation, 3 of them moving fast to flank tunnel exits. They're adapting faster than we expected, Teresa says. Because someone's feeding them intel, Morgan replies flatly. Nathan, trace all outgoing communications, right now. Dr. Loy hurries in. Commander, the pregnant woman in processing room 3. Contractions have started. How long? Still hours away, but she's under stress. She needs evac prep. Morgan nods instantly. Teresa, get the FBI medical team ready. We move her the first chance we get. Then the command center screen flashes. Another vehicle approaching the south gate. But this one is marked with a red cross. They're claiming to be with International Medical Relief. Officer Harris radios. Docs look real. Morgan narrows his eyes. Deny entry. Medical protocol requires 24-hour notice. The fake ambulance retreats, but Morgan shakes his head. They're testing our procedures, looking for loopholes, weak spots. Nathan, tell all stations expect more of this. Disguises, humanitarian covers. Down in processing, Alberto Cruz keeps his daughter Lucia distracted with crayons, but he sees the shift in energy. He's been a teacher long enough to know when people are hiding nerves behind smiles. Officer Harris, he says quietly, the man in that ambulance, he held his rifle wrong. No medic carries like that. Harris relays the message. Morgan logs it, another piece of the puzzle. They're disciplined at the top, he says, but their supporting units, sloppy. Recruits, not operators. Meanwhile, Victor Morales calls from tunnel security. Commander, they've reached the first reinforced doors. They're setting charges. Let them, Morgan answers. Those doors are designed to send the blast backward. They'll do more damage to themselves than to us. Outside, the storm explodes across the sky. Lightning splits the horizon. Rain lashes the compound. Sheriff Stewart's units remain locked in, now joined by newly arrived FBI tactical teams. FBI teams in position, Agent Chen confirms. We've ID'd heavy weapons, at least one modified Barrett M82, 2 DSHK machine guns. Military grade, Morgan mutters. They've got a new supplier. DEA needs to know, Teresa adds. This isn't just local cartel muscle anymore. Nathan's screen lights up again. Second tunnel team is nearing Junction 8, but their movement's different. They're carrying something heavy, protecting it. Explosives, Teresa suggests. Morgan shakes his head. No. Explosives. They'd spread across teams. This is something valuable. Suddenly the lights flicker, power across the facility surges and drops. A lightning strike, but backup systems kick in flawlessly. On camera, Morgan watches the cartel's reaction. They were counting on a blackout, he says. They came ready for darkness. Night vision gear, Teresa notes. Military spec. Even we can't access some of that. Which means military connections, Morgan says. Recent ones. Nathan, check border installations. I want every missing equipment report from the last 30 days. Dr. Loy returns quietly. The pregnant woman's holding steady, but others are showing signs of stress. Elevated heart rates, anxiety spikes, the pressure's getting to them. Morgan looks at the faces on the screen, families, children, volunteers, officers, and clenches his jaw. Mendoza brought weapons, brought tactics, brought arrogance, but Morgan brought something else. Experience, discipline, and a refusal to let fear define this fight. At the peak of a dust storm, Commander Morgan receives a warning. A maintenance worker was overheard discussing the facility's medical evacuation protocols in Spanish. Suspicious, Morgan narrows the suspects to workers in the East Wing, all officially vetted but possibly compromised by cartel threats to their families across the border. Soon after, encrypted military-grade transmissions confirm that Mendoza, the cartel leader, has direct support from elements within the Mexican military. Surveillance shows one of the tunnel teams isn't carrying equipment, but a person. Morgan identifies it as a decoy tactic and correctly predicts the real assault will come from a separate direction. A civilian vehicle speeds toward the north gate. Inside is the real Mendoza, flanked by disguised tactical vehicles. Morgan initiates Protocol Omega, activating hidden barriers and containment systems. As Mendoza's team takes defensive positions, he theatrically opens negotiation, aiming to legitimize his attack. Meanwhile, explosions in the East Wing signal betrayal from within. Martinez, a maintenance worker, detonated charges to access the facility's secure areas. He begins disabling security systems using insider knowledge. Mendoza's goal becomes clear, not just breaching the facility, but staging a televised display of power. However, Morgan cuts all external power, neutralizing Mendoza's broadcast advantage. While coordinating safe evacuation of pregnant women, Morgan discovers Martinez's true target, the evidence vault. A new threat emerges. Military-grade jammers are deployed to block communication, but Morgan's pre-installed repeaters redirect the interference back onto Mendoza's own teams. Mendoza's plan to use families as human shields begins to unravel. Morgan swiftly orders the quiet relocation of civilians and activates tunnel countermeasures, flooding escape routes and sealing bulkheads. A child's drawing exposes heavy weapons vehicles and infiltrators posing as humanitarian workers. FBI agents and local sheriff units coordinate under Morgan's command, containing tunnel breaches while confirming that Mendoza's attack is meant to embarrass the U.S. government, not smuggle drugs. As medical transports are prepared, new encrypted chatter reveals rival cartel Los Rojos exploiting Mendoza's attack to strike from the shadows. Thereafter, files in the evidence vault, intelligence that could expose corruption on both sides of the border. Federal police arrive, claiming to de-escalate the situation, but inconsistencies in their equipment and personnel suggest deeper infiltration. Morgan discovers some officers are double agents protecting cartel interests. As the final ambulance prepares to depart, Mendoza surprisingly allows it to pass, choosing to protect medical rights. But Los Rojos doesn't. Shots are fired, not to kill, but to cause panic. Morgan counters by exposing both cartels' hidden agendas. Through a series of calculated moves, Morgan lets rival forces believe they are in control, only to reveal their plans, alliances, and corrupt officials to each other and the public. Hidden security systems mislead infiltrators, while FBI and local teams secure vital evidence. Ultimately, Mendoza surrenders, seeing no path forward. Dozens of corrupt officials are exposed, cartel operations dismantled, and the facility remains intact. Morgan's strategy, built on Delta Force discipline and a commitment to truth, proves stronger than firepower. The event sparks international investigations, policy reform, and regional community empowerment. Where cartels once operated through fear, communities now rise through unity.